Step into Mind Matters, where we reveal the high-stakes world of CEOs, from their first-day jitters to game-changing strategies, and equip you with invaluable insights and practical advice essential for your personal growth and leadership journey. And now, Mind Matters. Let's step in.
Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Kendall Raisler, and today we have a remarkable guest with us on our podcast. She comes with a wealth of knowledge as a CEO of Primary Bank. I'd like to welcome Crystal Dionne to our show. Welcome, Crystal.
Oh, thank you for having me, Kendall.
Thank you for spending the time with us. I'm very intrigued to learn about your journey and share with our listeners your challenges, tribulations, and how you have grown into your position in Primary Bank. But before I do that, if you wouldn't mind giving our listeners a little bit Cole's note, if I can say that, about your background and how you got to where you are, Crystal.
Of course. So I spent right out of college, I went into state government, and I spent about just over 20 years in government. Started at a state level, moved down to a municipal level, but I was always in a finance role. I did spend roughly 14 years as a CFO in a municipal government. And at that time, I was involved in really every aspect of running that local government. I had an opportunity to get to know individuals within the municipality, who one of those individuals happened to be the chairman of the chairman of Primary Bank. And through that connection with my work with the town, he got to know me, got to know my work ethic, got to know my background and expertise in financial reporting and financial management and financial analysis and really everything in the finance world. And when he decided he was going to start this bank, gave me a call and said, "Hey, I want you to come be the CFO of Primary Bank." And it was a new startup, and I, to be honest, I thought he was a little bit nuts. It was a time, where, we were just coming out of the financial crisis. There were very few banks, if any, that were being formed, new community banks. We were the only community bank to have been formed in a 7-year time frame. So, of course, applications from the FDIC were very few and far between. Approvals were very few and far between. So it was a really difficult time. But nonetheless, I decided to take a leap of faith and come over to the banking world from the municipal world. And I truly felt, Kendall, that I had gone as far as I could in my career in municipal. I had spent, as I mentioned, 20 years in that government finance role, and I had really become a leader in that space. I was in a position where I was looked up to by my peers. I became the president of a state organization, the president of a New England organization, and then moved on to the national organization, where I was serving in a capacity for creating best practices and really being, that go-to person for municipal finance. And, having gone through all of that and achieved all of those goals, it was really time for me to start something new. So that is truly why I decided to take that leap of faith and say, all right, let's give banking a try. Finance is, with the finance background, I felt very confident that I could step into the CFO role and do what needed to be done. Now, of course, there's banking is a whole different environment. It is certainly an area where I had some learning to do. I definitely had to learn how all the acronyms that come in the banking world. But at the end of the day, the finance role was something I was very comfortable and confident in. So I spent, we're coming up on 9 years, and I've been with Primary since before we opened our doors. So I was here when we were in formation, before we had our approvals. So I've really been in from the ground up. So I've been able to see really everything that we've been able to do to build the company to where we are today. And I've been involved in everything. Every area of the organization I have been involved in. So truly, it was a really seamless transition for me to come into the CEO role when it became available, just because I had been here since day one. I knew the staff knew me, and I knew, the entire board of directors, no, rather, the entire board of directors. They know, they know my capabilities. I know their strategic planning, and, they are feeling confident that I can lead the team to fulfill that strategic plan.
Thank you so much for that. Crystal, the first elephant that jumps out at me is there is a huge change from going from government to the private public sector. And that huge change is mentality, is the way it's done. What was your largest challenge you had that you felt had, like both on a internal, oh my goodness, I got all this to do, and actual on the practical working side of it?
That's a great question. You are absolutely correct. It is a very different mentality working on the government side and then coming over to the private sector. Finance it's black and white. We're looking at analytics, we're looking at numbers all of the time, we're looking at statistics, we're looking at returns. So on the finance side, it wasn't a huge stretch, to be perfectly honest, coming from one industry to another, because my role truly was very black and white. So I will say that. However, stepping into the CEO role, totally different ballgame. There definitely is, it's an entirely different level in making sure that, that our clients are taken care of, and our staff is taken care of, where in a government setting, that's not all that important. In a government setting, it should be,
Yeah.
honestly. It truly should be, because our people are our best asset, no matter what industry you're in. But it was different there. That's really the biggest challenge, I think, the really biggest difference that I find.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, because I know
Sure.
a bunch of our listeners would want to understand that difference. But I would also like to ask you the question about, it's been fantastic that you were able to come up since the inception of primary and bring
Mhm.
it up and go from the, if I can use the words, bottom up, of making the whole route and roadmap as you go through.
Yes.
But you have culture. Now that you're the CEO, there's other changes that would be inside of your mind that you want to make. How are you preparing the culture of your people? Because you say they are very important, and I agree with you. So,
Mhm.
is there any changes of culture that you have to make now that you're in this position?
There are. With any organization, culture is always a challenge. We are a small community bank. And in order for us to be successful, in order for us to train our personnel, to encourage our personnel to, pursue higher levels and to promote from within, there's a lot of training that needs to go on, obviously. And in order to do that, we need a staff that is here and accessible and collaborating, working together. And it certainly has been a challenge, obviously, coming off a few years of the pandemic, where everybody wants to work from home. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a disconnect in the culture in terms of our different, different segments of our business, and what those roles are, as well as different generations, and
Right.
the expectation of that. So really trying to blend all of those wants and needs together has certainly been a challenge. And it's a direct play on what the culture of the bank has been, because we have certainly been a culture where we are, we're in-house, we're working together, we're collaborating, we're trying to be as efficient as we possibly can. And in order to do that, we need to be together. So it's certainly, culture has been a challenge. I'm sure it will continue to be a challenge, but it's
Mhm.
something we're working very hard at to, continue on a positive path.
So when you're helping your culture, your team grow, because let's face it, changing from CFO, which is where you're very comfortable with for your larger part of your career, to
Mhm.
CEO, you've got to replace you. And to
Yeah.
replace you is not easy because you know everything about you. So how is that challenge when you started that? I know you'd have good people around you, but how is that challenge?
It's an ongoing challenge, to be perfectly honest with you, because I have not backfilled my role yet.
Okay. Excellent.
So yeah, so it certainly is a challenge. And being in a CEO role, of course, one of the main things we want to do is surround ourselves with people who are smarter than us, right?
Yep.
We want people who are experts in their respective fields, because the CEO cannot possibly be an expert in everything. So you surround yourself with people who are going to do the best job in the whatever area they are assigned to. So finding that person to backfill my role has certainly been a challenge. There are not a lot of community banks left out there. And so it's an ongoing pressure right now, but one that I do have a great finance staff who's been very, very supportive, that have I've been able to trickle things down to, just to keep my own sanity, I guess we'll say. But that is an ongoing challenge.
Well, you're wearing more than one hat still. And that means that's more pressure on you, because not only are you looking back to fill that role, but you're also working as a CEO. Then on the third hand, if I can say we have three hands, you're also looking at your board. Your board's looking at you and saying, we need to grow. We need to make the changes that happens. And the first question that comes to my mind is, that is a lot of plates to spin.
It
How do
is.
you handle your time management for that and your work-life balance management? As much as you could work 24/7, and that's not a healthy mode. How do you handle that, and how do you promote that through your culture?
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's a lot of parts to that question there, Kendall.
There is.
Uh,
It's a very
yeah.
large.
Yeah, that's okay. I'd like to say that I am a former circus performer, and I can spin a lot of plates all at one time, but that is not the case. And you're right. There's a lot of balls in the air. There are a lot of competing interests right now. A lot of demands on each of the particular roles, and as you mentioned, that demand from the board to continue delivering on the strategic plan, continuing to grow the organization, to move the organization forward. So there are a lot of things going on right now, a lot of moving parts, and balancing that. I'm going to be completely honest with you and say it's tough. It's really tough. It's a challenge. One of the things that I have found is, really grounding myself in what is the purpose of Primary Bank? What are we here to accomplish? And let's put that at the forefront of everything I'm doing, whether I'm in the CEO role, or whether, after the regular day ends and I put my CFO hat back on to catch up there. I'm always looking at, what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do for the community? What are we trying to do for the economy at large? And when I have that always in the forefront of my mind, it certainly makes the tasks not only manageable but meaningful. And it doesn't seem as you know as tiring, I guess. When you know that the work you're doing is meaningful, and this will all doing all of these things at once, this will not be forever. There'll be a light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll certainly get there, but you do what you have to do in a small business to get through. And when you're running a small business, and that's what we are, to be perfectly honest. Yes, we're a community bank, but we're a small business. We are an entrepreneurial bank. We are all entrepreneurs here. And you yourself, as a CEO, that when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you have to step in and you got to mop the floor, right? And whether that's your job or not, you have to do what needs to be done, and you just keep that purpose and your mission at the forefront of everything you're doing, and just continue moving forward. Now, your other question about your follow-up question with regard to the work-life balance, that of course is a challenge when when there's a lot of plates spinning in the air. But it is something that we definitely preach here at Primary Bank, something that is important to all of us. family always comes first. And we try and make sure that our employees know that. And, for myself as well.
That is fantastic. I love your focus on what to do best. You have the purpose behind it. So, and that's what every entrepreneur loves. And there's different types of CEOs that have the entrepreneurial side, and there's ones that are the facilitating side. And I love that you are matching on both of them, and that runs down to your culture. How do you run that to your clients? So when you're looking at the clients, actually, if you could open up before I ask that question, if you can open up a little bit more, what does Primary Bank normally lend on? What is their products? Not so much products. What is their goals for your customers? I guess would be my best way to say it, Crystal.
This episode is powered by Onist AI. Onist's optimized onboarding process and minimized documentation result in an expedited and seamless financing journey for clients, enhancing their contentment and commitment. Through identity verification, financial data validation, and creditworthiness assessment, our software empowers companies to make well-informed financing choices, bolster application speed and customer uptake by 30%, and cut operational costs by a significant 70% with Onist AI. For more information, visit onist.ai.
So Primary Bank we like to call ourselves three things. We like to call ourselves a local, creative, and entrepreneurial. So we are a community bank, and it is our mission to serve small to medium-sized business in Southern New Hampshire. So really what we are trying to do is provide small business access to capital in order to, buy their businesses, grow their businesses, expand their businesses, which in turn expands the local economy. When you're talking about local banking and you talk about the multiplier effect, when you're, bringing in funding and you're lending that funding out to a small business in need, that business is growing and expanding and creating jobs. And those jobs are going to people who are spending money in that community. And it's just an entire multiplier effect. So, truly what we are trying to accomplish here is growing the local economy here in Southern New Hampshire by providing access to capital for small business. Now, we are a commercial lender only. So we don't do residential lending, any consumer lending. We have stuck to the commercial side because that truly is where the greatest need in our particular market has been. So that truly is what we're doing.
Well, that's fantastic. You could identify that for your customers and go through that. And let's talk about the commercial world for a little second, because I want to talk to you about scaling, growing your business more and more to help more and more in your clients. Technology will be one part of it. But the other part of it is when I hear you say that about your clients, I go, business has changed so much. And it has changed where it's not the bricks and mortars that used to be for so long. So when you have to look at the new types of business and how you have to change and convert with your clients, your culture, your people, that's another 10, 15 plates that you're spinning. Makes it very difficult. How do you take a look at a product that you're going to do for them and make the decision to move forward with it and expand on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kendall. And that really hits kind of on that second comment that I made about us being creative. So, in addition to being an entrepreneurial bank, we consider ourselves creative because there is not, one single type of client that we service, and they need a product that that round peg that fits in the round hole. Community banks are so different. If you need that, go to a national bank because, they're going to have a standard form and you either qualify or you don't based on how you answer. It's very different here at Primary Bank because we do try and be as creative as possible and create customized solutions for our local businesses and their lending needs. So honestly, there is not there's not any type of cookie cutter process that we use. We are truly looking at each individual request for borrowing on its own merits and assessing it individually and trying to create a customized solution to meet their need.
I can see how that fits with your culture that you're building in the back. I can see, and people are usually the slowest part of any expansion. But they are the most important part, as to use your words as well, because at the end of the day, people want people, and we need that. And when you talk about technology, and you said this, and you talk about scaling, you had mentioned this about some people want to stay at home because they got used to it with the pandemics that happened and everything like that, and the age differences. When I look at the younger generations versus my generation, it was a different school, a school of hard knocks, do this, and it was only in this rule. In
Right.
today's world, that has really changed. Can you share some key milestones or turning points in your organization's growth and journey?
Oh gosh, some key milestones. We are only coming up on 9 years old. So I can't say we've had a lot of key milestones quite yet. I would certainly say that at the onset of the pandemic and our, being such a small community bank and being able to react very quickly to the business needs that were around us, we were able to service clients that weren't even ours. Clients that couldn't get what they needed from their own financial institutions, and we opened our doors. That was certainly a turning point for us in our growth. And it also, we were really still at that point working on branding ourselves and getting ourselves known in the market because we were still so new. But that truly made such an impact for so many local small businesses. And this is a small state. People talk. They were able to say, look what Primary Bank did for me. And because they talked, it really grew our business exponentially. We quite literally doubled in 1 year's time because of that, being very nimble and very quick to market. So because we were able to do that, I would say that was probably one of our, most pivotal turning points in our growth. And now building upon those new clients that were really displaced by their own financial institutions and found their way to us, and really trying to nurture those relationships and, just creating full relationships with those particular clients. And of course, the more we have, the more people talk. Everyone says that they give stellar service, but it is truly a fact here at Primary.
I love to hear that you have your ear to the ground with your clients, your consumers of your bank, of Primary, because that is a very difficult task to do, to actually really listen and make sure that it makes sense on both sides. And when you're looking at, let's say you're looking at a new product, to double it in 1 year is incredible. It's actually kudos. There's a full-on clap for you for doing that, and your team. When you're looking at innovation and adaptability, when you're looking at technology, what role does technology play, and how have you leveraged it and enhanced the efficiency for the customers and your members?
So, being a financial institution, technology plays a huge role in what we do. We have to have the best of products out there. And, fortunately, that's where our age is an advantage to us. So only being 9 years old, we do not have old legacy systems that we have to deal with and old technology that we have to deal with. So coming right out of the gate, we were able to implement the newest technology with all the bells and whistles that a national bank would have. But we're able to offer here. So technology certainly is a very important part of what we're providing to our clients, and certainly something that we continue to look at on an ongoing basis to make sure our processes are efficient. If there are other technology advancements that we can utilize. I don't know if you're going to get into questioning how are we going to use AI in the banking industry in the future? But everybody wants to know that, and nobody has a good answer, so don't ask me that.
I'll keep that one in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. But certainly, technology is most certainly at the forefront of pretty much everything we do. No one wants to walk into a bank anymore. They want to be able to do everything right from their phone. Our business clients, as I mentioned before, we're working with small businesses. These are business owners. They don't have the time to run down to the bank. They either need the bank to come to them, or they need to be able to do things right from their offices. And the only way that we can make that happen efficiently is by utilizing the best technology.
Crystal, I'm so excited to have had you on this podcast. But I would like to ask one more question, because we like to keep our time to about 30 minutes.
Sure.
And for our listeners, because it's easier for everybody.
Mhm.
And the question I'd like to ask you is, what advice would you give to any CEOs that's starting a new bank like you have, running it for? What would be your major advice you could give them to take the weight off of them?
Oh, the major advice I would give to them, uh, a CEO role, in my opinion, is all about your people. It is how you energize your people, how you empower your people, how you communicate the purpose of what you are trying to accomplish, how you communicate that to your people, and making sure that they are on the same journey with you. And I do think that, it really, in any organization, it comes down to surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who believe in the mission of whatever your organization is. And they, as I mentioned, want to be on that journey with you.
Thank you so much for your time and your insights. I believe our listeners have got a lot of valuable information out of this. So once
Great.
again, thank you very much for your time, and you have a wonderful day.
You do the same. Thank you, Kendall.
Thanks for listening. If you found this conversation valuable, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We will see you next time on Mind Matters.